Now, today I am going to start the explanation of new chapter, that is lesson number 8. The heading of the chapter is cell structure and functions. So in the first part of the explanation of lesson number 8, the topics which I am going to explain, that is the cell, about the cell theory, as well as the discoveries related with the cell. So first of all, I will start with the cell. So the first topic of today's class is cell. So students, how you will define the term cell? So if anybody asks you how you will define the term cell, then you will say that the cell can be defined as the basic structural and functional unit of all the living organisms. And the body of all the living organisms, they are made up of cells. Or you can say all the living organisms, they are made up of cells. So this is the way you can define the term cell. So cell is the can be defined as the basic structural and functional unit of all living organisms, and all the living organisms, they are made up of cells. So this is about the first topic, what is called as the cells. In the body of every living organisms, many type of cells are found, and there is variation in the number of the cells which are involved in the formation of the body of every living organisms. And on the basis of the number of the cells which are involved in the formation of the body of every living organism, there are two categories of organisms. So that is the unicellular organisms and the multicellular organisms. Now see what is the difference between the unicellular and multicellular organisms. So unicellular organisms are those living organisms whose body is made up of single cell. So those organisms whose body is made up of single cell, they are called as unicellular organisms. For example, bacteria, euglena, paramecium and amoeba. These are some of the examples of the unicellular organisms whose body is made up of single cell. Then next to this, the second category of the living organisms, on the basis of the number of the cells involved in the formation of their body, that is the multicellular organisms are there. And in this category, the body of the organism, living organism, is made up of several cells or many cells. That's why they are called as multicellular organisms. For example, many plants, animals and even the human beings, you all know, their bodies are made up of large number of cells. Now after this, students, I will tell you about the cell theory. So this cell theory that is, there was one German scientist who for the first time studied or did the research on the plant cell. And he said, after this, the next scientist, name of that German scientist was what? Matthias Schleiden. So Matthias Schleiden for the first time did the research, or he for the first time did the research on the plant cells in the year 1838. And 1 year later, another scientist named Theodor Schwann, he studied or did the research on the animal cells. So first scientist who did the research on was Matthias Schleiden, in the year 1838, and the material which he chose for this study of the cell, that was the plant cell or the plant material. He has on this he has done the research work. Then another scientist, 1 year later in the year 1839, another scientist named Theodor Schwann, he studied about the animal cells. So this is the point of difference between the materials which were observed by these two scientists. Then in the year 1855, there was one more scientist, and he said that all the new cells arise from the pre-existing cells. It means what? That whatever new cells are arising or developing, they are arising from those cells which are existing, from those cells which are in existence early also. So this is what is. These were the three things which these scientists have discovered. And after this, all the work of these, whatever these scientists, like the German scientist Matthias Schleider, then second scientist Theodor Schwann, and whatever research observations have been shown by Rudolf Virchow, all their work was compiled under one heading, and that heading under which all the research work of these scientists have been compiled, that is called as the cell theory. And according to this cell theory, there are 3 points. In the cell theory, 3 points are given. That is, according to the cell theory, the first point is that they have postulated that all the living organisms, they are made up of cells. All the living organisms, they are made up of cells. And depending upon the number of the cells, all the living organisms, they have been categorized into 2 groups, unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular organisms, those whose body is made up of single cell, and multicellular organisms are those organisms whose bodies are made up of several cells or many cells. Then the second point which they have postulated in the cell theory, that is the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all the living organisms. So this was the second point which they have come to the conclusion, or which they have given in the cell theory. Then third point was the same which was proposed by Rudolf Virchow in the year 1855. And what was that point? That the new cells arise from the pre-existing cells. So these 3 points were given in the cell theory, in which various scientists have given their view after doing the research on various types of cells in the various groups of living organisms. Now after this, students, I will tell you a little bit about the discovery, how the discovery was done of the cells. So you all know that these cells are very small in size, and therefore we cannot observe them or see them with our naked eyes. So in the year 1665, one English scientist named Robert Hooke, he invented the one instrument which is called as the microscope. And with the help of the microscope, he observed the structure of the cell. And what was the material which he selected for observing the cell? With the help of the microscope which he has invented in the year 1665, that was a thin slice of cork. A thin slice of cork was the material which was observed by the Robert Hooke under the microscope and he studied there about the structure of the cell, and he found that the cells which were present in the cork, they were hexagonal in shape and they were arranged in such a manner that like the honeybee comb, like the combs in the honeybee, they are arranged. Similar was the pattern of the arrangement of the hexagonal shape of structures. And he called that, what was the name he has given? He called these units as the cell. So this is how the discovery of the cell was done. Now, after this, students, I would like to tell you little bit more about the shape and size of the cell. So, students, there is large variation in the, or tremendous amount of variation is there in the shape and size of the cells which are found in different groups of the living organisms, or which are found in different parts of our human body. So, and the shape and size of the cells which are present in the body of the living organism, they also differ depending upon the type of the function they are performing inside the body. So on the basis of the function which these cells are performing inside the body of the living organism, their shape and size varies. Now I will tell you about the shape of the various types of cells which are found in our body, like the RBC, or the red blood cells are there, and these red blood cells, they are biconcave shape. And what is the advantage of these red blood cells being biconcave in shape? That is, it helps them to travel through the narrow blood vessels very easily. Then I will tell you about the shape of the cells which are found in the muscles of our body. So the muscle cells which are found in the muscles of our body, they are spindle shape, and due to this spindle shape, it results in the contraction and relaxation of the muscles, or the movement of the muscles. These spindle shaped muscle cells, they help in the movement of the muscles which are present in our body as a result of the contraction and relaxation type of movement. Next to this, in the body of human beings, one more type of cell is found which is called as the WBC, or the white blood cells. And these WBC or white blood cells, they do not have any definite shape. That is, they are irregular in shape. And what is the function of these cells? The function of these cells is that they help in fighting against the disease, or fighting against the germs which are responsible for causing various types of diseases in the human body. So this is all about the shape of the cell. Now students, I will tell you a little bit about the size of the cells. So students, the size of the cell also shows tremendous variation. That is, there is lot of variation in the size of the cell, and this is also depending upon the type of the function the cells are performing in the body of the living organisms. Second important thing about the size of the cells is that most of the cells which are found in the body of the living organisms, their diameter is 0.0025 centimeters. So this is the diameter of most of the cells found in the body of the living organisms. Then the smallest cell which is found, the size of the bacterial cell. So the bacterial cell is smallest in the size. Then next to this, the size of the cell in the egg cell of the ostrich, that is the biggest cell in comparison to the size. So the smallest cells, they are found in the bacteria, and the largest size cell is found in the ostrich egg cell. But if it is asked name the longest or the largest cell which is found in the body of the human beings, then you will say that is the nerve cells. So nerve cells are the largest or the longest cell which are present in the human body. So with this, students, we come to an end of today's class. Now note down the homework. Students, you will learn about the various points given in the cell theory, as well as about the names of the scientists who were involved in postulating the cell theory. Thank you and have a nice day.